many in the motorsports world, when you combine sheer beauty with pure speed, you get Virginia International Raceway. Add the supercars and stars of the Pirelli World Challenge Championship, and you have racing the way it should be. The Grand Prix of Virginia is next.
Well, welcome here to the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Virginia, presented by Audi Sport. I'm Jeff Lepper, joined by Calvin Fish, and it's our GT and GT Cup competition here for Sprint X, rounds number 3 and 4 on the season. And Calvin Fish, what a great facility here, Virginia International Raceway, and the action in Sprint X competition so far has been amazing.
Well, the picture tells the story, Jeff. This is really old school. You look at that ribbon of asphalt here at VIR. All of the drivers love it, even guys who are here for the very first time, including championship leader Miguel Molina for R Ferry Motorsport. He said, I've seen nothing like it here in the States, and certainly enjoying his first experience here. But it's very challenging. We had a lot of weather during the week where the grass is extremely wet. We've had a few incidents through the various classes that are competing here this weekend, so you got to keep your nose clean. It's a tough racetrack, a real challenge.
Well, and you talk about this racetrack and the challenge, looking at our Porsche race analysis, this track, Virginia International Raceway right here in Alton, Virginia. Tell us a little bit about this circuit.
Well, it's a roller coaster ride, Jeff. It's just over 3¼ miles in length, 15 turns, some good straightaways here. So you need that straightaway. You need the horsepower. You need the low downforce configuration. But through the S's is really what challenges the teams, the drivers, and the setups on the race car. Essentially, in a GT car with the amount of downforce that they display these days, it should be flat out all the way until the upper S's, and that's really the key to this lap. If you can get through there with a nice comfort zone for the driver, that should relate to very fast lap times.
And we talk about the Sprint X category now coming in here. 60-minute race, 2 drivers, pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes for that driver change to get it completed by. It's going to be exciting.
It is. Essentially, at the 25-minute mark, the window will open, and unlike last year, it's now wherever you are on the racetrack. Before, they wanted the leader to have the opportunity to be the first car to pit. That's no longer the case in 2018, so slight change there in the rules. As soon as we hit 25-minute mark, you can see cars start to come down pit lane. The Pro-Am categories, you would assume that you'd want to get your faster guy in there as quick as possible. And in qualifying this morning, it should have been your Am driver that qualified. So we may see some early pit stops for those guys, and then the strategy will take place. You want to be very close to this delta time, which is 75 seconds from pit in to pit out. And we've seen in the past, in the early rounds at COTA, for example, that really can make a big difference in your track position. By the 35-minute mark, you've got to be in pit lane. You don't have to have executed the pit stop by 35 minutes, but be on pit lane and cross that timing and scoring line.
And a mandatory 4-tire Pirelli P0 tire change here this season as well, implemented for these teams, a new challenge.
It is, because it should be plenty of time, but if anything goes wrong, you know, panic can set in even for the best crews in the world. So suddenly there's a little anxiousness there in terms of getting the job done.
Well, you talk about the different challenges that this track makes, but the different makes and models of cars. Take a look at your grid real quick here. The CRP Racing de Vilbius Mercedes Daniel Murad was the top of the time charts for the session in his Mercedes. It is all Mercedes front row with the Lone Star Racing ACS manufacturers, Mike Skeen, Scott Heckert running that car on the outside of the pole. Looks like they're lining up some cars, getting that ready here. The K-Pax Racing number 3, Rodrigo Bautista, just a superb lap, Calvin.
Yeah, I mean, the Bentleys have had kind of a quiet start to the year with the K-Pax Racing team. Certainly Rodrigo was not really, I would say, on total pace at St. Petersburg, but he came alive at COTA. He's been very strong here all weekend long, and it's a K-Pax Bentley sweeper for the second row, Mercedes on the front row. And I know we're talking a little slight delay here. I think there was some discussion just a few moments ago about which side pole position should be lining up from. Initially, it was thought the left, so we'll have to see what line up here, where the Morad will move over to the right side, which would be the inside lane going down into turn 1, or if a decision has ultimately been made there. But you're right, Bautista is a man on fire at the moment. He's got a lot of pace and got a really great teammate alongside him in one of the Bentley factory drivers, Maxime Soulet.
Then, of course, you see the next Bentley both rounding out that second row, Andy Suchek and Alvaro Print. But the K-Pax Racing team has not had its smooth sailing switching over to these Bentleys. A lot of incidents so far for them.
Yeah, I think I think when you're not on pace, that makes you push a little bit harder, and I think we've seen that from some of the drivers. Certainly, Alvaro had a disastrous opening weekend in the sprint race at St. Petersburg. Incidents in both of those, and even at Coda, they didn't have the best of weekends, even though Bautista and Sule had a pretty nice result there. So they lead the Sprint X Pro-Am standings right now. But even so, you get to tracks like this, the flowing open sweeps of a track like this, or CTMP, you would expect to see these K-Pax Bentleys at the front of the field, and that's what we're seeing here today.
Yeah, this is the first FIA graded B category track here at Virginia International Raceway for the 5 different classifications of circuits worldwide. Scott Hargrove, that number 96 Castrol on the sprint side of things, swept the weekend at St. Petersburg, Florida, so he's looking to capitalize in the Sprint X Championship, running with Wolf Hensler here this weekend, so good run for him. And then the number 61 swept the weekend there at Circuit of the Americas in that R. Ferry Ferrari.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. I think Vilander was disappointed with his qualifying run, lining up in the 6th position. But I think talking to the team, they felt really third was about the best they could have achieved, looking at the times of these 2 Mercedes on the front row. So Tony got a little bit of traffic, maybe missed the sweet spot in terms of the tire peak in performance. So he's got a lot of work to do, but you got to think big picture. You can't get too antsy. Let the team execute in the pit stop. And also, I think for Molina, what he's got to focus on when he gets that brand new set of Pirelli P0s is to lay down that fast lap time as soon as he gets out in his stint when the tires are really sweet, and get that grid position for tomorrow.
And would you maybe play strategy too to try to get that gap, or look for that as getting our pre-race festivities started here for the start of our Sprint X category, the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Virginia, presented by Audi Sport. Want to give a huge thank you to Audi. Of course, that beautiful brand new Audi RS5 pacing the field here, and the Audi Q7 as our medical vehicle here as part of the series. So got about 3 minutes here until we give our command to start engines and get this race underway. If you're joining us here at the web at world-challenge.com, watching the live stream, want to welcome you worldwide. Want to welcome everybody on our new on the new World Challenge fan app. If you go to the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, you can download the Pirelli World Challenge fan app and watch the live stream, all the news and all the highlights there. And all the listeners on channel 383 Sirius XM Radio tuning in right now. Well, if you're just now joining us here on Sirius XM, I'm Jeff Lepper here with Calvin Fish. We're up at the top of the crow's nest, so to speak, of the main building, right on the front stretch, just before the start-finish straight. We're looking at about high 60s, low 70s today. You can see the breeze down there with the Pirelli and World Challenge flag flapping in the wind. And it's going to be a nice 60-minute race for the Sprint X category cars, and we're looking forward to getting this race underway. Full day of coverage here at world-challenge.com on the live stream and the app with GTS Sprint X. We have our touring car TCR, TCA coming up next, and then TC to round out the end of the day. It's a 5.5-hour day here. We'll be in the booth joining everybody watching live.
Everyone's going to be flat out today, that's for sure, in terms of the officials getting the cars regridded for the next race that comes up very, very rapidly.
It's about 1 minute to go here. And we talk about the different makes and models of cars that are on the grid here. The front row swept by Mercedes, the second row swept by the Bentleys. You got Porsche, Ferrari, you got another Porsche, and then you go back to the GMG Racing 41 Porsche with Alec Udell. You got to go all the way back to 9th for an Audi, but of course that's 17-year-old Parker Chase. He's got a pretty good co-driver that actually drove the pole city car here last year. Yeah, Ryan Dial had a brilliant victory with Daniel Morad, who sits on the pole after his qualifying run this morning, that he described as his best lap ever in his career. So that's making a big statement for that young man. But I think Ryan and Parker should have a good run there today. Spoke to the team. They had a puncturing qualifying, so they missed out in terms of getting the ultimate performance from their run. Let's get down to Ryan Marine to give our command to start engines today. Perfect. That was Tristan Herbert. Of course, you appreciate him. A longtime Pirelli World Challenge competitor, now with Audi Sport Customer Racing. So good to see him to get this thing underway right behind that beautiful Audi RS5. I think I hope my wife's not watching the live stream because she wants one of those cars. Spoke to Tristan this morning. He's actually been getting a little bit of seat time. He tried one of the TCR race cars recently at Button Willow and said it's an awesome car. So it's great to have someone in that position that has seat time as well and can relate to the drivers and teams as to the performance of the cars they're working with the Audi brand. Great to have their support here as well, of course. Big hospitality tent here and entertaining guests and teams alike. If you watch some of the social media on our apps on Facebook, you notice there was a huge incident in a test day here on Thursday with the precision driving Ferrari 458 GT Cup car David Roberts at the wheel of that had a huge shot here at the top of the S's, and his teammate Marco Radicic, who will see those two drivers driving the BMW M4 GT4 race a little bit later in GTS, and that was a big crash.
It was huge, and just amazed that he just walked away, and next day said he really didn't feel any ill effects from that, but the car is certainly pancaked, and other than the engine, I'm not sure what you'll recover from that, so it's a hard blow for that team.
I'll get the Pirelli P0 tires up to temp here, all led by that Audi RS5 pace car. Of course, this is the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Virginia, presented by Audi Sport. Daniel Morad has been nothing short of spectacular when he came on board last season, and then coming here this year now.
Well, this was his coming out party when he was able to hang on and withstand the pressure of Jerome Bleekemolen, you know, renowned GT superstar, and in the equal equipment. That was really what got everyone's attention about Daniel Morad and the potential that the young man has.
Now, we did talk a lot of different things going on here, but looking at our Pirelli storylines, what are some of the key points that we're going to see in this race?
Well, I think the key is going to be, you know, how hard do you push? You've got to be thinking big picture. So for Tony Vilander, you know the Flying Finn did not expect to be qualifying on the third row of the grid, but they have a nice points lead in the Sprint X Championship. We're sweeping both events at COTA. He can't afford to get too feisty. He's got to let his team do their job. We know that Molina is absolutely on it. He had a really fast lap time yesterday in practice and led the field, so he can get the job done. Just be patient. Don't force it. Just let the race come to you a little bit. And just don't get into it. You know that Scott Hargrove, he's a feisty competitor. He's not going to give an inch when you go side by side with him on this flying start down towards turn one.
And then, of course, we throw in the pit stop now. That's got to be one of the big deciding factors here.
Yeah, it's a 75-second pit lane delta, so that means when you hit timing in line on pits, that leaving the pit lane has to be not short of 75 seconds. So we saw that our Ferry group, I think they were within a couple of tenths at COTA, and that got them track position there. They hope to execute the same way, but it's a fine line. You don't want to get too edgy with that and just be underneath it, because then you're going to get a drive-through, and that will cost you about 25 seconds here at race speed.
Well, the man on the ground, let's see if we can get an update now from Brian Marine.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Tell you what, you talked about perhaps this weekend, going back a year ago, being a coming out party for Daniel Morad. K-Pax Racing thinks this weekend could be a coming out party for them this year. They've been looking forward to this race all season long. They really feel like this track here at VIR suits them. Now, it hasn't been without issue. They had some practice crash in testing going back to Thursday that set them back a little while. Keep in mind, this team's dealt with quite a few issues of that nature, contact, repairs, things like that throughout the season. It's really been a struggle for them in that capacity. However, they've been fast all weekend. They think they can race their way to the front, and they got a couple of Bentley boys to help them do just that.
Yeah, Calvin, you talk about those Bentley boys, Suchek and Soule. They have been introduction to this K-Pax Racing team, have done nothing short of spectacular, along with Rodrigo Bautista and, of course, champion Alvaro Perrin.
Yeah, they don't have any slowpokes in that team, that's for sure, and certainly the Bentley boys will bring it to the table when they jump in halfway through this race. But Suchek had the incident. They also had a boost issue in the night car that they finally got sorted just before qualifying this morning, so both cars should be on pace here today.
This comes downhill on the backside of Virginia International Raceway, the roller coaster section here. This little quick right-hander, another sweeping right-hander. The pace car is going to come down on pit lane.
Pole position is starting from the outside lane. Nick Shaw from CRP was in with the stewards just moments ago trying to argue that point. I'd prefer to be on the inside, but this is how they line up. Ken Mike Skeen pulls it from last year. Take advantage with that inside lane down towards turn one.
As they're bringing it down into the acceleration zone, waiting for that green flag. Bundled up nice, and there goes Daniel Morad.
Gets the jump. He basically negates that situation immediately by getting the jump on Skeen. Bautista has got a good start as well, but Skeen has got his flank just to the inside there. Brent looking for a way through, and look at Hargrove in the middle of the road looking for an opportunity.
Vilander shuffled to the outside there, trying to see if he can make it three wide with Hargrove and Christensen.
Look at Perrin, got great, oh, and he gets hit! He got great traction there, coming out, and huge hit for Alvaro Perrin. Had made a move inside of Mike Skeen. I don't think Skeen knew he was there. Contact there on relatively cold tires, and Perrin is out with major damage.
Yeah, just that quick little side-by-side with Mike Skeen there. Not sure if it was racing room or Mike didn't know he was there, but all it took was that one little touch there. No barrier or tire wall there. You can see he knocked over the K-rail, Calvin.
That's amazing, and you talk about this team, Ryan alluded to it in terms of they've had a lot of crash damage this year, and that trend continues. Spoke to Tommy's Sadler, chief mechanic there with the group, and he said we just need a clean weekend, and moments later, Suchek was in the wall, and now lap one of this race, Alvaro Perrin, who just can't seem to get his championship season started.
You can see those little text on the side of the car, all the little word and phrases. Of course, Jim Huey, the team owner of K-Pax Racing, one of the team principals and owner, of course, is supported by Flying Lizard, but he says that he's a big Pokemon fan and gets to walk, lost, I think, 50 to 80 pounds. He's lost weight walking, playing the Pokemon game. Those are different Pokemon phrases here. Let's take a quick look and see if we can get a replay of exactly what happened here, Cal.
Well, I think just skiing is suddenly, you come out of turn 1 and 2 as kind of, kind of rolls around there, and you set up over to the right, and I just don't think he knew that Perrin had got the power down. It was a brilliant move by Alvaro Perrin, getting to the inside, getting traction, getting the grip. This is a man who suffered a big rib injury at St. Petersburg in the opening rounds of our championship. Has been through the wars of late, and he is just frustrated. You can just see that he's just super frustrated right now. And I'd have to say the stewards will be looking at that one, Jeff, because Skeen definitely made a move there and created that situation, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like Skeen was way down to the inside there when Print got it. But, yeah, you talk about the frustration that he's had, incident. But it speaks to how strong these cars are built to have that car back and knock that 4,000-pound K-rail over. And here you see Alvaro Print walking back to the pits. And
they're really shy on spares with the amount of incidents that they've had this year. They are super shy. It could be game over anyway, but even if there were a minimal amount of damage, it looks spectacular. But if they were able to look at it, I'm not sure they have the parts even on the transporter to make that fix for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, it's going to be unfortunate, as it has been devastating in this championship points-wise with the incidents and the problems that they've had. As Ryan alluded to earlier, they were hoping that this was going to be a coming out for them and really turn that corner. And unfortunately, with this incident, that's just going to continue that long line and see if they can get it back underway. But the good thing, what you mentioned about the stewards there, we'll have to see if we can get a replay and look at that for the stewards office there. I know Brian Tills here, Peter Roberts, Brian Hughes, taking a good look at exactly what might have happened.
Well, Alvaro got the run to the inside, and you kind of loaded to the right, and then suddenly Skeen came over on him a little bit, and I think that just loosened up his car immediately. Remember, opening lap, these Pirelli P0s. Let's take a close look here. You see Alvaro middle of the road. Skeen just moves over to set up a little bit. Haven't looked at it, though. Alvaro was really sort of like more middle to left, so there wasn't a lot of room for Mike Skeen to really make much room for him.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Obviously, 100 miles an hour on the exit, you got a split-second decision.
Well, the road is moving to the right, so Mike is naturally going to transition over to the right a little bit and try and set up, and he can't just drive over the road to make room for Alvaro. So it was just tight quarter racing in the opening lap, and a shame there's so much damage to that Bentley.
Yeah, very unfortunate, and I'm sure if that K-Pax Racing team, now you get into that like you talked about, what spares do we have, how damaged is the car. The race is early today, so we're just past 1 o'clock. You do have the rest of the day today, tonight, and then early in the morning tomorrow to help maybe get the car repaired or fixed, maybe take the car off site if there's any frame damage. If they're going to be frame damage, get that fixed and maybe pulled out and try to get back underway. And if anybody can do it, I would love to be able to have the Flying Lizard team to do that for me.
Yeah, looking a bit further back, looks like Vilander has got passed by Christensen here. He may have had to check up a little bit with the incident between Skeen and Perrin. So our championship leading R-Ferry Motorsport number 61, that red Ferrari there, is in 6th position, which was his starting spot, but he's lost a spot to Christensen, who qualified right behind him. It's a shame for the K-Pax team. They had a very successful test here and felt that coming into this race, this was a track that would suit them with the balance of performance and just basically the performance which each brand has allowed. This flowing nature of this racetrack really suits the Bentley, and they're hoping for better times. I mean, this is a championship year, Jeff, where you go from circuit to circuit. Some cars will shine, but that Bentley certainly seems to have, not really didn't work well on the streets of St. Petersburg. Was okay at Coda. They're somewhat in the ballpark, even though they didn't get the results they were looking for. And there you see the team just cannot believe what they're looking at here this early in the day.
And Ryan Marine down there on pit lane. Anything down there, the somber and word there?
I'll tell you what, I was standing in the pit box when the accident occurred, and they were watching on the stream, so they're a little bit behind. I was watching their reactions after hearing what you guys had to say, and I'll tell you, it was a mixture of just disbelief and shock and frustration that they're going through this again. Everyone scratching their heads, trying to figure out what they have to do to get the cartoon anvil off of them. It's been that kind of weekend and that kind of season, frankly, for K-Pax Racing this year. And you alluded to the lack of spare parts. I talked to Darren Law about that earlier in the weekend when they had their crash on Thursday, and Darren said, look, we got to be careful. There's not a whole lot of excess parts available for us, so without a doubt, another setback for K-Pax.
Let's take a see if we, I think we got a different angle at it right now. Let's try to see if we can see here. And
yeah, Mike didn't really move to the right much. I think it was more Alvaro staying in the middle of the road, but the road kind of kinks over to the right. So I'm sure Mike's gap between his car and the left-hand side of the road probably didn't change much. Do you know what I mean? It's just the road leans over to the right.
It does go to the right.
Alvaro took sort of more of a straight line approach up towards turn 3.
Racing side by side, inches, millimeters, and milliseconds. And that's how it takes there. And
I think the other thing is I don't think Mike would have known he was there. I mean, Alvaro got such a great grip down to the inside, and probably Mike thought, well, I've cleared Bautista, just go about my way and follow Morad through and up on line to turn 3, and probably didn't recognize that Brent had made the move to the right.
Well, if you're at the track and you're listening in right now, I think if you drove a Bentley Continental to this race facility, you better get your car moved and hidden right now, because they might be out there stripping parts for it to get going underway. But all pun intended, we're able to joke about that because of the safety that FIA has put in place. Pirelli World Challenge WC Vision officials have made the equipment mandatory, that Alvaro's able to walk away from that incident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this group here at VIR, led by Kerrigan Smith, just do an outstanding job in terms of staying on top of this racetrack. But it is old school. It is wild in places. And Miguel Molina, who's going to co-drive with Tony Vilander here today in the red number 61 Ferrari leading the championship, said it reminded him of Zandvoort, a real traditional old school circuit in Holland that he raced at in his DTM days. So he's loving it, but it will bite you in a hurry if you do go off. Certainly the speeds up through this section, through the S's, are just unbelievably high.
Get word that we're going to go green this time by. They're down in what was called the Oak Tree turn. That hard right-hander was a big, huge oak tree. And had a storm here a few years ago, and unfortunately the oak tree fell over the soft dirt. Now they have an oak tree that they planted there, and they call it Son of Oak Tree, so it's pretty cool to see. But I know Miss Connie running the track here, and we see the lights are out on our Audi RS5 pace car as they come down the backstretch here. Remember the first time I ever drove here, you got that little hump right there, and I'd never been here, so I'm like, okay, I've got to hit the brakes, but you still have a whole long straightaway past it down the hill here. Kind of felt like an idiot, but coming down here into the hard left and then the roller coaster portion, then back into the acceleration zone. Now for Daniel Morad, as he did on the start, it's going to be his choice on when he can go. You just have to wait for the pace car to clear.
Yeah, and it's pretty nice here for the leading car coming through this little roller coaster section to be able to pick up the throttle when you want to and kind of surprise the pack behind you, and you should be able to get a good launch.
Yeah, I got word that it looks like Mike Skeen, we're not sure what damage is done to his Mercedes, and he said he just didn't know that Alvaro was there, like you alluded to, Cal, and you know, extremely apologetic already on the radio as we get ready to go green.
Morad hits the gas, takes off, gets a nice little leap there out of the final corner. Hogpen should be in good shape there to not have to defend to the inside. Hargrove's got a good run on Bautista, though. That Bentley is awfully strong on the straightaways here this weekend.
It sure is. The Mercedes woken up now with the front row there as Hargrove just peeking down to the inside. Rodrigo is going to protect a little bit down there into turn number 1, this long sweeper, and then back. This is where we had that incident a little bit earlier. Is Christensen to the outside now of Hargrove.
Well, that's exactly what we saw. It's kind of cut and paste from the incident between Skeen and Alvaro Parenti. If you get to the inside, suddenly the other guy's swinging out to the right and going to take that line away from you.
I thought we were seeing just a carbon copy of what was going to happen there, as Christensen said, well, I just saw this happen in front of me. I better back up and go up into these climbing S's, Calvin.
Yeah, this is just a tremendous section of the racetrack, and it just climbs. It gets a little bit of elevation change, which gives you more grip as you're heading through there. Looks like Hargrove has dropped it back a little bit. The top 3 are checking out a little bit in the early stages.
Yeah. Getting word that Mike Skeen, unfortunately, even as apologetic as you are, not knowing it, incident responsibility. It's going to be a stop and hold for 3 minutes. So ultimately, it's going to put him a lap down and have to sit there on pit lane. Car number 80 down here on pit lane.
That hurts that team. They came into this round of the championship second in points behind the Ferrari. Had 2 podium runs at Coda, including pole position for the opening race here. So they're going to have to dig deep. They really need to get a little bit of a reset, maybe help with a caution a little bit later in this race to get back in the game.
Daniel Morad pulling away from Mike Skeen. Now with Skeen out of the middle between Rodrigo Bautista and Morad. We'll have to see if Rodrigo can start running down Murad a little bit as Skeen brings that Mercedes down onto pit lane, 35 miles an hour. Parking his pit spot. The clock will start in 3 minutes, and he'll be back underway.
The nice thing for Morad and all of the drivers for that matter is this year you're going to be changing all 4 tires. Before you had to really, you wanted the ultimate performance from those Pirelli P0s, but you didn't want to use them up to the point that your teammate had nothing to defend with for the second half of the race. So Morad can really just get the hammer down, try and build as much of a gap, hope that there isn't a caution or a reset, and try and gap as much as he can to turn it over to his teammate Fabian Schiller, who's also never driven here. Of course, he's had a little bit more time to prep than he did at Coda, where it was thrown at him at the very last minute.
And Ryan, you're down there with that ACS manufacturing Mercedes.
That's right. The team accepted the penalty with some resigned shrugs. They are forced to sit here and watch as the rest of the field streams by. It does look like there is some damage on the right side of that car where the contact was made. It doesn't appear to be too significant, but it is right by where the exhaust comes out on that right side from this beautiful Mercedes-AMG GT3. So as far as the team is concerned, the damage is nothing that's going to be troubling, but certainly any hope for a strong result goes out the window in these short races after the contact and now the penalty.
I guess that is one of the advantages, though, Cal, when it is sitting there, you can kind of evaluate what you might have to do or need to change. Because now the key is going to be for Skeen or Heckert, when they do the driver change, to put down a qualifying lap for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, that's really the strategy for all of these groups in terms of the grid for tomorrow is set by your fastest race lap. And you would think that that would be set later in the going, less fuel on board, and for the second driver who gets a brand new set of Pirelli P0s to work with. But it depends on whether your second driver is as quick as your first. So certainly for Skeen, I'm sure you want to lay down a safety lap in this first half of the race to have something on the board.
A good battle between Wei Lu and Parker Chase. Wei Lu in that TR3 Racing Ferrari won at the Circuit of the Americas round. Parker Chase teamed up with Ryan Dial this season. Parker, 17 years old, just turned 17 in February, our youngest competitor in all the Pirelli World Challenge classes, and he's at our top level in the GT3 machine with True Speed Autosport this season, and worked his way up from GTS, running the Ginetta the last few years, and good to see his development. Got a pretty good coach with Ryan Dial.
He does, and it was good at Coda to see him really showing his mettle there in terms of fighting off some of the more experienced drivers in this field. And I think with Ryan Dial, he's got a great mentor there in terms of not only the setup of the race car, but also your approach, how dedicated, how focused you have to be if you want to be at the top of this sort of level in motorsports.
And Wei Lu, we talk about young drivers and coming up through the Pirelli World Challenge ranks. He was running a Mini Cooper in the Pirelli World Challenge TCB category that's not around anymore just 3 years ago. So to see him move up into this GT3 machine.
Yeah, it's a very fast car. Jeff Siegel laid down the fastest, second fastest lap yesterday, right behind Molina. So it was a Ferrari 1-2 in final practice yesterday. But Wei Lu hasn't had the sensational pace that he had at Coda. But at Coda, that was just such a surprise to see him with his amount of experience running towards the front of the sharp end of the field.
And just let we talked about that there with the pass for the lead. You know, Mike Skeen with the arrow on these cars and getting the nose. Rodrigo Bautista able to run down Murad.
Yeah, it was a big lap. He just laid down 0.7 of a second quicker than Daniel Morad. And about a second quicker than anyone else out there racing right now. So that Bentley, and this will frustrate Alvaro Brent even further, knowing that this car is this good here, coming off that test day that they had here a few weeks ago. And there you see Mike Skeen going down a lap.
Yeah, comes back onto the grid here. Now, I know Mike, he's not going to want to mess up any of these leaders' races. He is going to try to want to find a gap to try to put a lap down. But here goes Daniel Murad, Rodrigo Bautista. He's right on that back bumper of that Mercedes, trying to see if he can make a move. It's really tight up through turn number 4, 5, and 6 here. I don't think you can make a move here, but the key to be, can he get him down to that oak tree turn on the downhill, stay right on the back nose, put his nose on that back bumper of that Mercedes.
Yeah, and the key is when he had the gap there, he's getting clean air to the front end of that Bentley. Now he's tucked up right behind Daniel Morad. He probably doesn't have the aero efficiency that he had before. Just a quick clarification, Skeen is now 2 laps down with that hold in the pit lane, so they are really out of the game today. They just got to focus, as you said, on getting a fast lap laid down by Skeen, and then certainly Scott Heckert, who did a tremendous job at Coda. And when he's got fresh tires on, maybe they can do something. But here you see it. This is the key corner. He's got to get good traction down here, try and use the draft and maybe the speed of that Bentley here this weekend to make a move on the Mercedes.
You see him starting to get that draft a little bit. Murad goes down to the inside, protects, and it's a really bad bump there. You do turn to the left, especially in these low cars. You don't want to be on the right side of the track. There's been Rodrigo down to the inside.
Oh, this is tough, though, into the brake zone. Daniel's not going to give it to him. Bautista going for the lead. Oh, this is so tight. Just great racing there between the two of them, giving themselves just enough racing room. It's tough. You think you've got the move, Jeff, and then the road goes to the right, and suddenly the guy's a little bit behind, has the inside line, and Daniel's been here before and knows from experience that you just got to hang in there, and maybe you can keep that position as he did.
Yeah, it's a quick kink to the left, and I was talking to some of the GT drivers. They said they just downshift once, enough to hit the brakes to slow down. Then you're hard on the brakes and 2 downshifts for the right-hander there. Murad played it perfectly, leaving his Mercedes there to the outside on the right, so he would have that inside of the right-hander.
Yeah, and you just let the car float out there to make it even harder for the guys trying to make the move. Bautista there, but Bautista really shown his mettle. He's a very quiet young man, but quietly confident as well. He showed a lot of pace last year with victories in the GTS class.
Now remember, Daniel Murad is leading in our Pro category. Bautista is one of our Pro-Am class cars. He's listed as an amateur still in the GT category. So yeah, they're fighting for the overall position, but they're still first in each of their classes, running 1-2, as we see Cesar Baccarella in the 07, the Hublot Ferrari, teams with Martin Fuentes. He's running in our GT Am leader right now.
Yeah, a really nice qualifying session this morning. Qualified very well. Just been trimming down his lap times and working with Martin and the whole group there to execute and maximize the speed out of that Ferrari. He doesn't have the experience of some of the other drivers, but the key is keeping it clean. Turned over to Martin Fuentes, who's had 4 victories so far this season out of 5 races, so he's been a man on a mission and a runner-up finish. A very close one at Long Beach in our last sprint round as well.
There's David Askew in the DXDT Mercedes sitting in second place, just behind this battle that's taking place overall for 10th into the top 10. But of course, like I said, Baccarella in that Alpha Prime Ferrari 488 GT3 car that's prepped by TR3 Racing. That we saw with Wei Lu a little bit earlier, both cars under that tent. Of course, this one's the Scuderia Garage Italia car.
Tim Pappas right behind him right now in the number 54 Black Swan Racing Porsche. It's a brand new chassis underneath that car. They recognized after Coda they didn't have the pace, did a thorough inspection and found a little bit of chassis damage that they weren't aware of. So brand new chassis underneath there, and it's a bit of a thrash for the crew, but they got the job done and seems to be performing well.
This is the Sub-1 Audi with Dore Japanik behind the wheel. He actually has the qualifying lap record here in a KTM Crossbow in our GTS category, but I think Ryan Rain's down on pit lane.
Thank you, Jeff. Down here with Jeff Siegel, Wei Lu's co-driver. We were talking about Wei a little bit on the broadcast so far. Guys, had such a fun breakout weekend at COTA. You've been coaching him for a while, though. Were you surprised at the pace that he's been able to show in his step up to GT3?
To be honest, at COTA, I wasn't really surprised at all. We did some testing in the offseason before making the decision to take the plunge and do this, and Wei really impressed me with his speed in the GT3 car. So we knew we had something special there. We knew that he was a good fit for this Ferrari 488 GT3. The team is like family, so you know, we've all been racing together in one way or another in Ferrari Challenge. We've all known each other. It's just a nice fit, and Wei's really stepping up to the plate. I mean, at COTA, he did a stellar job. Here at VIR, it's a little trickier. He's never been here before, no testing. Missed the track walk with a late flight, so he's kind of rising to the occasion right now.
We'll let you get back up on the box. Good luck in your stint.
Thank you very much.
That'll probably be one of those cars we'll see pit early, get Jeff Siegel in the car and try to put down some laps, especially in our Pro-Am category, Calvin.
Yeah, for sure. You would think that would be the strategy, but conversely, as he said, Wei is learning the track. Oh, and as he's learning the track, makes a little mistake there, and at the same time, David Askew is off as well. Just got it wrong there in the braking zone for the roller coaster. Dropped a wheel, couldn't quite get it back together. So he may have dodged a bullet in terms of hitting anything hard.
It doesn't look like he got it. Did anything? Thank God for that. We just saw earlier David Askew in our GT Am category was off the track and we damaged the left front. I believe that was down in Oak Tree. Get a quick reset on the paddle shifters there, put it back in gear and get going. Just lost it coming down the hill, but I thought I saw Rodrigo Bautista was ahead of Daniel Murad now.
He is. That Bentley is really showing pace, and Rodrigo's showing the way right now. What a boost this would be for that whole team after all of the damage that they've suffered here since the start of the year, to suddenly have their car leading. And if they can hang on. But this car actually had a testing crash right before Long Beach, so it was a big thrash to get that car ready for that race. And it seems like Daniel Murad certainly had the pace in qualifying, but in race trim, that Bentley looks super strong.
Of course, Fabian Schiller, he'll turn that car over to that young German during the pit stop in that DeVilbiss Mercedes. And see if we can get a replay about what happened here as they try to do it down the straightaway again, Calvin.
Cut and paste from the earlier situation. You see Bautista has got in the, he had a car linked on him, and then he just took that car in super deep on the brakes, almost threw it all away, but had the ABS working and managed to just scramble through the corner.
Yeah, it looked like Murad sort of maybe backed off a little bit, thinking that was what was going to happen to give him some room, but unfortunately that did not happen. It looks like it was 7-1. The Audi with David Askew was the incident between those two cars. As we try to take a look, as you see, there's he drives off the course again. Yeah.
Not sure if he just had dirt on his tires and couldn't get the grip, or whether he's got a mechanical issue that stops the car from turning. But either way, David Askew has certainly been in the wars. We understand there may have been an incident between he and the 71 that had related to the earlier incident. Now we're going to take a look at Wei Lu's moment coming up into the roller coaster. Just watch here, he gets in super deep, just loses it as he's making that transition. You're loading up one way, then the other, just loses the back end and then cuts through the grass. I think he must have lost power to the engine as he's rolling backwards there, and took a bit of time to get going.
It's got to be a sick feeling just sliding through the grass with no control, as wet as the grass was here. All the rain and the water and then the mud that you get in. Lucky he didn't get stuck as well. He was able to continue. But Rodrigo Bautista, like you said, Cal, throwing that Bentley over the curbs, coming underneath that Nissan bridge, up the hill into these climbing S's. You got a quick left, then a right, and then a harder left, and then a harder right. Then do another left down the hill into Oak Tree. It's just they should call this part the roller coaster. Yeah,
they're flat out all the way to that point there where they're just on the brakes briefly, down a couple of gears, and then back on it again. So it's amazing. It's a beautiful ribbon of racetrack. It's got the elevations, just giving you more and more grip, more and more confidence as you go. But if the car does let go, you make a little error and drop a wheel, you are going to go for a ride of a lifetime.
Scott Hargrove leading over Michael Christensen, the two Porsches right there, third and fourth. Vilander back to fifth. We take a look here and see exactly what happened. Looks like the 71 Audi.
Japonik got down to the inside of Oak Tree and just shoved David Askew wide. Yeah, I wonder if he's then got damage on the front splitter or something. There you see Dore recovering as well.
Well, Dore got back underway in that Audi R8 LMS from True Speed. Of course, we saw him, like I said, he has the qualifying lap record here in GTS category in the KTM Crossbow, and then Brett Sandberg won the championship in DTX in a Crossbow as well. So to see those two guys teaming up together in that Audi.
Yeah, and they did some racing together in the Blancpain Endurance Championship with the Mercedes Black Falcon team last year. Actually with Scott Heck, who's obviously competing here today as well. And those were a trio of drivers. There's a 3-driver lineup for the Blancpain Endurance Championship, and they went over and got their feet wet in that form of competition last year.
Well, you drop those two wheels off on the outside of the curb there. You got to get the car straight, hit the brakes with that hard left-hander. Nice big sweeper, let the car come out to the left, and then back to the right again through that little quick S and down the straightaway. And that Bentley looks good over the curbs, too. It looks, you see him throwing it back and forth, but at least it's getting planted every time they go through. And looking back to our GT Cup leader, Tyler Hardwick is competing by himself in this category here this weekend in that car. He's no driver change.
Yeah, with the loss of the Radicic Ferrari, he's basically going solo here for class honors. But nonetheless, great to see him here competing, and car looks beautiful. He's done a really nice, tidy job of keeping the car clean this weekend.
Was a past jet ski racer. So good to see him making that transition to 4 wheels. He was a big championship leader, but we're only about 30 seconds away from the pit lane opening 4 pit stops here. As we start working on who's going to do the pit stop, and I think it's a 75-second delta. As we see a couple cars down on pit lane now. Clock is running on that, so it's been for a little while, but they have about 10 seconds to go once that pit lane opens. As Rodrigo Bautista just goes past pit lane.
Yeah, he's a bit too early.
Not going to make it.
I think the cars that have been in pit lane so far have been for problems. Japonik's car's been in, David Askew, and obviously Skeen with the drive-through penalty.
See if there's any takers here before they come back around and run the laps here. We'll try to, I don't know. You usually say you want the AM to go run as hard as they can or as early as they can, put the pro in, but Rodrigo Bautista, maybe leave him in for a little while.
Well, the key is also the teams also monitor if you make that early pit stop, where are you going to come out in traffic? If you've suddenly got a group of cars that are going to stay out there another 8-9 minutes longer than you don't want to be caught up in one of those battles. So they'll work it out in terms of the 75-second delta, where that'll put you back on the racetrack.
Scott Hargrove in that Castrol Porsche, leading over Michael Christensen, the Allegra Porsche. First team with Spencer Pompelli here this season, and Spencer was competing at St. Pete in one of the Aston Martins. Daniel Murad, who is running second place, also drove that car at the 24 Hours of Daytona, where they won in that Allegra Motorsports Porsche. Tony Vilander in the Ferrari back in 5th, and Alec Udell in 6th, as some of our drivers coming in for changes there. There's the Dream Racing Lamborghini of Yuki Hirata, Alessandro Brisson going into that car. Ryan Dial, of course, getting into the Parker Chase Audi True Speed, and then Drone Bleekemolen. How about that for the number 54 Porsche?
Yeah, he was dynamite here last year. Of course, had a great weekend. As you see, Ryan Dial now taking off. Got Peter Barron, who's worked with Ryan on numerous occasions on the pit box, mainly working with the other car, I believe, but certainly there's a lot of crossover of information between the two pit boxes when you're running under the same umbrella. So Ryan's back out of pit lane. Take a look at what the pit lane delta was, as the information is just coming through. Looks like they were good. They're at 77 seconds, so they left a couple of seconds on the table, just playing it safe there. Yuki Hirata's car with Brisson now behind the wheel, 78 seconds, so 3.5 seconds outside of the minimum pit lane delta.
And a lot of teams cutting it close. You'll see some that give themselves just a little tiny buffer to be safe, but we've seen thousands of a second on that pit lane, and it could be plus or minus, and then it could wreck your whole day.
I think our Ferry were like 2 or 3 tenths, wasn't it? One of the races at Coda, which they won. So it can certainly gain you some track position.
And Ryan, you're down there with Hargrove down on pit lane now.
You got it, Scott Hargrove, who swept the opening weekend of the season at St. Pete. He's your overall championship leader. Just climbed out. Wolf Hensler gets in, the former Porsche factory driver, getting belted in. A set, it looks like, in the cockpit now. The P0's going on this race car. It's down off the jacks, and if the timing is right, they'll be out of there here soon. Just got refired, and Wolf Hensler should be out to rejoin the fight shortly.
Yeah, and they'll just be looking at their stopwatch right now to make sure they don't break through that minimum pit lane delta. Great group here, led by Steve Bottolotti with the FAF Motorsports group. Spoke to Wolfie this morning. He's very happy with this team, and he said Scott's an amazing talent. The group is really strong, and Wolf is staying busy working with the Porsche team. He's going to run the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. Obviously, they bring him here to support the FAF Motorsports team. And he's also working with a lot of new Porsche young drivers. They have a Porsche talent pool, they call it, for the Carrera Cup this year. 16 drivers under his wing, so they can learn a lot from Wolf Hensler, as is Scott Hargrove this season.
We had the track walk a little bit earlier, and I got a good chance to talk with Wolf Hensler. As Rodrigo Bautista down on pit lane, your race leader is in, as I'll hand that car over to Soulé, the number 3 Bentley here, as Murad does stay out as he goes into the lead. As Ryan, you're in that Bentley pit.
Quite an impressive performance from young Rodrigo Bautista. Really strong in GTS competition a year ago, making the step up and making it look easy, at least here this weekend at VIR. He hops out, the Belgian Maxime Soulé replacing him behind the wheel of that Bentley Continental GT3. The K-Pax guys, this is the only one they got left in the fight at this point. Pirelli P0's going on that race car. They make sure the door is shut correctly. Little trouble, it looks like, on the right front, but what a masterful drive from Rodrigo Bautista, who is leading on merit overall. Not bad for a GTA competitor.
Now hold in there as they get ready to leave. Yep.
Yeah, we'll just look at the time click over. And the other thing, if you stay out there and you got good track position, as in the lead or one of the top positions, you are running the risk of a full caution period. That could certainly spoil your day in terms of erasing any gap that you may have over the rest of the competition. So you're rolling the dice a little bit by keeping your car out there, like CRP are right now. So we'll have to wait and see. And Baptista's car is out, 76.2. So certainly coming a little bit closer for giving themselves a solid second on that pit lane delta time of 75 seconds.
Yeah, but you look at Michael Christensen and Spencer Pompelli, 75.025. 25 thousandths of a second. That's that right. They were too, they weren't too fast. They were just right on that number. They can't get much closer to that as Daniel Murad, your leader, comes down on pit lane in that De Vilbiss Mercedes. Yeah,
I thought the dominoes were starting to fall now. You just can't afford to get too brave here, and I think Nick Short has certainly learned a lot with the Sprintex former competition here, and Ryan's going to be waiting for him.
And Ryan there as that Mercedes stops in pit lane.
That's right, guys. Down here as Daniel Morad hops out of the pole-sitting De Vilbiss Mercedes AMG GT3. Young Fabian Schiller jumping in. He was really impressive in his series debut going back to Circuit of the Americas last month. He was there with basically no time to get prepared at all. I talked to him earlier this week. He said, man, it's so nice knowing where I'm going to be. No visa issues this time around, and he's prepared. He's been fast all weekend long. Daniel Morad obviously has been as well. This team has been so consistent all year. Just one little electrical issue going back to the race at Long Beach in terms of the overall championship. But does look like we're having some problems with the tire there out on the left side. And they do have it taken care of now. The right rear going on at this point. So unfortunately, another strong run way late in the pits here for CRP. We'll have to get a word with the team to see what exactly happened with the left front.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how that stacks up. I think they're going to be outside of that pit stop minimum. So they're still sitting still. There's only 10 seconds, less than that actually left. So yeah, not a great start for the number 2 car.
Yeah, Rodrigo Bautista, sorry, Soule goes by already down into turn 1, and they still haven't even left pit lane yet as he just now crosses the line.
That's how easily it can all go wrong. We talked about it, Jeff. Suddenly things start to go wrong, panic sets in a little bit, and before you know it, you're losing the race right in front of your eyes. They're sitting still on pit lane as Tony Vilander brings that championship leading Ferrari into pit lane to turn it over to Miguel Molina.
And the R Ferry 488 comes down pit lane. Was leading. He did a pretty decent lap, his best lap that previous time by at a 1:44.233. So Tony Vilander knows that he has to get a lap down. That's the in and the out lap is so key here. As we look down through the timing chart, Scott Hecker, looks like Mike Skeen, that number 80 ACS Manufacturing Mercedes, did do a good lap, a 1:43.390. As you see Molina hopping into that R Ferry Ferrari.
He said immediately, having got his first laps around this racetrack, it's his favorite in North America. So he's loving this place, and if a driver enjoys the challenge, that means he's typically going to show very fast lap times. And putting these scuff Pirelli P0s on, he needs to lay down a lap time, because right now there's several tenths behind the leading time of Bautista set earlier in this race.
You can see that rferryautomotive.com, a Ferrari of Toronto, Alberta. 488 starts the up. We'll look at the times, and they're right at the end of pit out, so you might have to really time it the right way on when you're going to.
I've been saying that. I've just seen a new fast lap showing for the number 80 car, so I'm not sure if Skeen set that time before Scott Hecker, who's now behind the wheel, got out there, but he's got a new fast lap of 43.3, so they'll have a chance to have a reset tomorrow. Right now, that would sit them on the pole position for race 2 here.
And Maximilian Soule was able to get around the team of Tony Vilander and Molina. So, but good run for them as they were back in that 5th place in that Ferrari when they pitted and able to punch out the 2nd. So you can look at the pit stop times and see a 75.75 second lap time compared to Daniel Morad and that DeVilbiss at a almost a minute and a half, 89-second pit stop.
Yeah, just a disaster for the number 2 group, the DeVilbiss CRP machine. But certainly it'll take Molina a little bit of time to really get these Pirelli P0s right into their sweet spot in terms of pressures and temperatures. So it should allow Soule to extend the gap on this next lap, but then things should stabilize a little bit. But they'll be happy with this, running in the 2nd position right now.
Looks like as they start cycling through, Wolf Hensler will be in 3rd. The car he shares with Scott Hecker there, Spencer Pompelli in the Allegra car back into 4th, and Morad pits when he was in the lead in 2nd. As you see, the 2 Porsches still nose to tail, and the Morad and Schiller car drops all the way to 5th.
Let's not forget there was that awkward moment at Long Beach where Porsche factory driver Michael Christensen turned around our Porsche championship leading car of Scott Hargrove. So they don't need any more argy-bargy here today, Jeff.
Ah, there we go. We got an argy-bargy. Put one in the jar. As you see, the Larry DeGeorge, the number 45, turned that car over to Shabarazolelli, and he's making his debut here in Pirelli World Challenge competition. Had a huge incident with the primary car. This is actually a backup car, that number 45 Lamborghini.
Yeah, there were about, I'd say, what, a dozen incidents over the course of the 3 days leading up to first race day here this weekend. So just a lot of wet grass, and with the nature of this circuit and the undulations, sometimes once you're off, you're just along for the ride until you hit something hard.
I know Aaron Pavolito helped coaching that DXTT racing. Let's get an update from that K-Pax team down there with Ryan.
Well, the bright side of the story for K-Pax has been Rodrigo Bautista so far today, driving all the way to the overall lead in World Challenge GT competition. Take us through the pass you had for the lead. What did you have to do to get by?
Was a little bit difficult. Our car is good on the straight, but we lost a little bit of time on the turn, so I tried to get exit as close as possible to Murad, and it was difficult. We are side by side, and I tried to break late, and I did it.
How much fun was that stint, knowing you were out in front of the whole field?
Yeah, it's nice to be there. It's the first time this year, so I'm really happy.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, the reminds me of Juan Pablo Montoya when he first burst on the scene. He doesn't say much. He almost comes across as a little bit aloof, but the confidence behind the wheel and the talent level is amazing. I think he's just a little shy and just kind of keeps himself to himself on a race weekend, but just amazing talent once he's on the racetrack.
Yeah, young Brazilian there, living in Spain now, actually. So still racing in the Block Paint Series, and then coming over here to run Pirelli World Challenge competition. Won 4 races last year in the GTS category with Flying Lizards and a Porsche Cayman, part of the Porsche Young Driver program as well. So it's really stepping in the right stepping stone and then able to get into this Bentley. And when you're faster than the factory Bentley boys, you got a pretty good thing, because Soulé just sets fastest lap though at 1:43.175.
You would expect that, you know what I mean, with these guys, as the fuel load lightens a little bit and you got a restart with another set of tires. A lot of people seem we're going to scrubs rather than just putting sticker tires on us. They would have done that during the practice and test sessions, just getting a light scrub on the tires so they're still really good and got all of the performance left in them. Everyone realizes how important that fast lap is in setting up your grid position for the second day.
And you can see that Lamborghini still ahead of the number 96, and then the 24 Allegro Motorsport Porsche. Michael Christensen turning that car over to Spencer Pompelli, but that was your Optima Battery Best Start of the Race Award, picking up 2 positions on the very first lap, so really recovered from that poor qualifying that he had a little bit earlier, able to get those 2 overall spots and sitting in the 4th position overall now.
Allegra had quite a slow start to the championship season in terms of performance, but got to work on the setup. Spencer did a test day with them prior to Long Beach, and it seemed like they turned the corner now and really attacking for those podium positions once again, which you'd expect from that whole group.
I love the bottom side sill. Says Circle Porsche on the sides, helps supporting this car. It looks like the old Martini Racing livery on the side of that Porsche there. Looks pretty neat to see, as they're not able to get around that number 45 car here in the overall spot. That is one of those Huracan GT3s, as Molina able to still pull away in second, and Soulé has about an 11.1 second gap from first to second.
Yeah, he's got a nice comfort zone there, as Spirituale is fortunately keeping that Lamborghini at a pretty strong pace, but you got to feel that Hensler would like his way by here, not hurt his front tires by running in the wash, the aero wash of that Lamborghini that's punching the hole right in front of him, and you'd have to think that Hensler wants to have a charge at Molina, who's running in the 2nd position, just a couple of seconds ahead right now in the Ferrari Motorsports number 61 Ferrari.
So we talking about a little bit earlier before the pit stops there, Wolf Hensler during the track walk was actually out running the course. I got a good chance to talk to him, and by, he was running the course, jogging around, and did 2 laps.
So as he came by, you said hi?
No, as I was on the golf cart, pulled up alongside of him and was able to chat with him and say, hey, Wolf, how's it going, down the backstretch there. But he was able to run 2 laps around the course during the track walk, and still staying in amazing shape, and said he's really enjoying this whole transitional now for his career, where he's still Porsche supported, but not a full factory ranking, but definitely still in that Porsche family, and just happy to be at a racetrack as Wolf.
Yeah, and I think it works both ways. Do you know what I mean? The youngsters can learn a lot from the more veteran drivers, but veteran drivers, it keeps them sharp. So they realize, listen, I can't afford to fall off too much, otherwise I'm not going to keep my job. So keeps them in the gym working out at an age when you probably have prefer to be doing other things, but you recognize this sport is all about being all in and ticking every box, and fitness is such a big one of those.
When we look at the fitness of these drivers, but also the fitness of these pit crews, Ryan Marine with an update about what happened to that DeVilbiss Mercedes.
Yeah, that's right. I just quickly checked in with the team, and they told me the wheel nuts, they're directional. One of them got swapped around. Wouldn't go on. Simple as that.
Just a quick little mistake down on pit lane, and ultimately dropped from pit into the leader, running in second before the pit stops, and now back to fifth, trying to recover. But Schiller doing a good job. He's able to close the gap now as he just sets fastest race lap, a 1:43.1. As you can see that now, Spencer Pompelli having to defend a little bit down there in turn number 1.
Yeah, that is making a big statement by Fabian Schiller here. First visit to VIR, just like Molina, but he has just laid down the fast lap of this race. And this is huge for that team to come back, having made a little faux pas there in the pit stop exchange. Be back into the fight. Podium is still very much on the table here today for them.
Just got around Tyler Hardwick right in front of him. The next car they should get is that Martin Fuentes in his Hublot Ferrari as he takes over from Cesar Baccarella. You see Hargrove going to be desperate to get over here as we look at the replay for the damage that we have for that number 63 Security National Mortgage Mercedes there. Getting a mechanical black flag, have to come down pit lane and get rid of some of that body work that's flopping around on that Mercedes.
Oh, look at that big move by Schiller. He's got to be careful there. He's going to get it chopped there, poking his nose in an oak tree. But you got to feel that Wolf Hensler in that 96 machine is getting frustrated by Spurs-Wally. He needs to let this trio go and sit in behind them. It's not like he's slow, but certainly he's affecting their pace a little bit.
Yeah, just getting word on race control that says that, he does need to heed way to our overall leaders. Yes, you have the pace. Yes, you can stay from that. But you're a lap down to, first through fourth, or third. You need to let these guys go race because, like you said, Wolf Hensler, you saw the headlights flashing. He's all over that. And I think Schiller just doesn't know that you can't make a pass at Oak Tree like that. He just doesn't know any better, right?
That's right. That's one of the neat things. It's like playing a golf course for the first time. You don't know where the danger is, so you don't steer clear of it. And sometimes that can result in a good score. But right now, he's got a great run going. Don't throw it all away. 45 finally makes way for this trio to get through. He's getting words from the stewards that he would suffer a penalty if he didn't make way for these GT overall leading pack.
And he does. He does a great job, gets out of the way. But now the key to do is just stay on their back bumper and make it look good to know that that's where you belong. But Wolf Hensler able to pull away. We saw a little bit of a sideways moment for him there as he's trying to push to stay in front of Spencer Pompelli there, and now the fast-charging Fabian Schiller.
Spencer had a little moment there. I think he washed wide, lost the front end, so that could have been an aero wash as he was trying to get set up for this section they call the snake before you head up into those climbing S's.
Good shot of the Loki Porsche from Alec Udell. And Corey Lewis stepping into that car now as Matthew Jaminet is unable to make the race here this weekend with Alec Udell and fighting setup issues on that Porsche, trying to get all the information they can learn here today to try to make changes for tomorrow to get them back up the front of this field.
Good chat with Corey Lewis, who lives in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. I didn't realize how close he was actually to the Andretti family. He said actually Michael and Mario Andretti helped coach me in my early days in karting. He said my brother was actually competing alongside Marco. They're of a similar age. He said I was the young guy, and when I suddenly started to get behind the wheel, that was Michael and Mario gave me the early tips. He said Mario taught me how to drive a jet ski, so he's had a lot of great advice over the years from the Andretti family.
Well, Ryan Dial comes out of Oak Tree onto the straightaway in a big sideways tank slapping moment there as he goes over the bumps, pushing as hard as he can, sitting 7th overall, second in our Pro-Am category. With you talk about Maximilian Soule and Rodrigo Bautista not only leading overall but also leading in our Pro-Am category. As the man you just mentioned there, Corey Lewis behind the wheel of that Loki Porsche now, and so happy for Alec, able to get a program together. John Wise, the CEO there of Loki, puts his just such a great story. Was a mechanic for this team when Alec was running his GT Cup car, found a need for a thing there with Loki, able to pull some funding together and make the race and get a program for Alec. And they've come into the series strong.
It's through John Wise, the introduction of Corey Lewis, because he actually worked with Corey Lewis on a Radical team about 6 or 7 years ago. So that's where the introduction was. Alec needed a new teammate for this weekend, with Jaminet having other commitments, and John said, how about this guy? He's shown tremendous pace. He won here last year in sports car competition in a GT3 car, so he knows how to get the job done here at VIR.
I'll tell you what, if you're a young tinkerer or an inventor sitting in your garage, check out the Loki website. There's a chance to patent your trademark it, copyright it, search for everything. You can invest, share, and sell all through Loki. So pretty cool deal there is go back up here to Maximilian Soule, that number 3. Opticoat coming on board that K-Pax racing team. Coating and finishing company here with that Bentley is Brian Marine down on the pit lane with the number 96.
Wolf Hensler behind the wheel of that number 96 Pfaff Porsche right now. His co-driver Scott Hargrove, the overall championship leader coming into this weekend, had such a masterful debut at St. Pete, but I know you knew it wasn't going to stay that easy. With that in mind, running solidly in podium position here today, how important are days like this to getting that championship that you're chasing?
Yeah, it's really, really important. We definitely have to maximize every opportunity we get, and so today it's been going well so far. We started 5th. I made up a spot on the start, and then I think there was a drive-through penalty for another driver, so we were up to 3rd, and I think we had pace to be up there and be challenging with those guys, but unfortunately it seems like pitting early has bit us a little. The outlaps are pretty slow, and some guys jumped us on the pit stops, and then Wolf's now getting held up with some lap down traffic, so it's a little unfortunate, but we'll make the best of it, and then hopefully we'll finish on the podium today if all things go right, and then tomorrow we'll have our work to do.
What are track conditions like today relative to how it's been so far this weekend?
It's starting to get hotter and greasier today, definitely. There's been more grip the rest of the weekend, so now we're fighting the car a little. I think we passed the prime on our tire behind the lap traffic to get Wolf in a good lap for tomorrow, so that's a little, we're a little bummed about that, but hopefully today we'll finish off strong and get that podium.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking at the time charts, it actually looks like they're qualified 7th when I do the numbers there. But speaking of qualifying times, a new leader.
Yeah, Maxime Soulet, our race leader right now, just laid down a 143.084, which is about 0.2 quicker than the next fastest lap. But Molina's got a nice lap down as well, so that puts the Alferi Motorsport Group in pretty good shape. But Schiller's got that 43 once. It's getting really tight there for the grid spots for tomorrow.
Yeah, 16,000th of a second, second will separate 1 and 2 right now, but it's not over yet. As like you said, Cal, earlier, the fuel load's starting to lighten, but Hargrove kind of alluded to, over the prime of the Pirelli P0 tire, and talking to these teams and drivers, this is a tire that you can drive on hard all race long. Yes, it's going to have a sweet spot, 3 to 4 to 5 laps, depending on the track length and condition, but it's one tire that you can push all race long.
You really can, and I think for Wolf Hensler, he'd have been frustrated by Spurzwali staying in front of him because he's probably getting that aero wash. That means that you're going to change the balance of the race car. You're going to overload those fronts, and maybe he doesn't have the sharpness in the balance any longer to find the extra 10th or 2, which could probably bump him up 2 or 3 positions on the grid. So Scott Hargrove, I think he's one of those guys who's very calculating, always thinking, and he's recognized, like, just by our strategy and getting caught up in the traffic, that's going to really hurt us for the race 2 tomorrow.
Soulet able to pull over a 15.2 second lead now with Miguel Molina. And you talk about that big picture championship, leading the championship in the Sprint X, and they're actually first in the Pro category, even though they're second overall, as Martin Fuentes comes down into turn number 1 in that Hublot Ferrari, leading in our Am category. And Martin was a busy man at Long Beach, had to qualify the car Saturday morning, get out of that car, hop on the plane, fly to Mexico City from Los Angeles, and was the godfather for a baptism there that happened at 5 p.m. He had to leave no later than 11 p.m. and got back at the track at 5:30 in the morning of race day, and ultimately finished 2nd place. So did a good job, but he's so happy to, I'm staying at the track, I'm not leaving, I'm here.
Let's just say he wasn't flying coach though, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a little private jet waiting for him. As this battle continues to thrive here for the final podium position, Hensler hangs on there. Scott Hargrove's teammate. Certainly Pumpelly is keeping him very honest. Schiller's dropped back a little bit. He certainly had the edge and the pace there initially, but you got to wonder whether his tires are maybe overpressured a little bit. A lot comes down to your starting pressure when they come into the peak performance, but they can overpressure a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see if he can make any more positions here and get onto that podium spot.
Tyler Hardwick and his GT Cup leader in that Lamborghini. As you see Jerome Bleekemolen trying to work his way back through the field in that number 54 Porsche. And Schiller sort of backed off a little bit in a little previous there, Cal, and now he's starting to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, may have given his tires a breather there and sort of like reset, just cool off for a couple of laps and then go on the attack again. Difficult position for Pumpelly because it seems like he's got great pace and look for an opportunity on Wolf. But as soon as you got Schiller right behind him, and he doesn't know Fabian Schiller very well. Certainly they competed against each other at Coda, but when you got a new boy behind you, you're not sure what he's going to do and what his typical driving aggression level is at.
Makes you kind of look up and work up a little bit on, watching those mirrors maybe just a little bit more and lose focus just for that slight split second. But he's doing a superb job still, slotting himself in between Hargrove and Schiller. Hensler and Schiller, as Wolf Hensler leading this group. It's the battle for that final podium spot. Miguel Molina has about a 6-second lead over this group for second. He's still about 15 seconds back to our race leader.
Yeah, and he's really stretched out. The Ferrari of Molina on this group is about 2 seconds at one stage, so he's been able to just continue to roll in the Alfa Motorsports Ferrari. Looks like Hensler's now got a little bit of a gap on Pumpelly on this particular lap. But, when you talk about when you're having to defend, it just compromises your line just that little bit. So as Pumpelly's looking to execute the perfect lap times, he's may having to defend a little bit coming into some of the corners. You compromise the radius and the turn-in point, and that means you're not able to execute the perfect lap time in terms of chasing down the guy in front of you. See the guys using all of the road here. This was discussed in the drivers' meeting about track limits. They're giving them that piece of pavement. They say, don't drop wheels, don't start kicking up dirt, otherwise we will take notice of it. But you can run over and outside of the typical track limit, which is the curbing lane.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's really hard to hold the car down there, and really good. I really agree with that call. Just let them go out there and race. If you start doing it in the dirt, then we're going to start talking. But right now, it's just let it go and use that asphalt that's there to the outside.
Track limits drive me nuts. I mean, you go to some of the newer facilities like Circuit of the Americas, you have to pay attention to it. But when you come to an old school circuit like this, there's another corner they talk about, turn 12, you're welcome to use. That really goes out of the window, and that's how it should be. Back in the day, if there was a piece of pavement and you could use it and get away with it, you were entitled to that piece of road. But now it's become very much a hot button in racing.
Well, Hensler able to pull away now from Spencer Pumpelly, and you look at the times, and a 44.225 is the best that number 24 Porsche can do.
He just laid down his fastest lap of the race, which is good news for Hargrove. So just as Hargrove was saying during that interview, you may have kind of shot our load here in terms of what we have in the bag. He certainly has been able to dig deep and find a bit more pace here.
Outside the top 10 in qualifying right now, and that's going to be huge come tomorrow. Not even starting that car in the top 10.
Hensler just so much experience. Raced here for a number of years. Schiller now is making that move, tucked to the inside on Spencer Pumpelly. But Pumpelly has a lot of experience. He's going to want to hang on here, see if he can defend from the Mercedes driver right behind him. This is one of the pilots that is loaned to CRP from the AMG squad. He said, I need a fast guy, and a little bit of a question mark initially with his performance at COTA. He got the call very late, wasn't able to do any sim work and prepare, but over the course of the weekend, he certainly started to get on pace, but turned up here and is immediately on it.
Yeah, missed the test day, as a matter of fact, due to the fact that it was such of a late call to get the proper visas and travel permits to come from Germany. He was delayed a day, and certainly trying to make up for that here at Virginia International Raceway today in that DeVilbiss Mercedes.
Look at Spencer, really wide there. He is loose going through. Oak Tree had to use all of the and some more, and Schiller has a run. He's going to look to the left side there. Spencer doesn't give much room, but Schiller is forcing the issue side by side. They head down the back straightaway.
But you saw Pumpelly moving over. Now Schiller moving over. Who's going to have it down here into the brake zone? Pumpelly's going to want to stay down to the inside, and he does. He's able to hold it. We saw that for the lead battle with Murad earlier.
Yeah, and that's just experience, just knowing if I can just hang in there on the right-hand side, the road's going to come to me when I need it. And Schiller is learning this racetrack quickly. It's a good move, but he knows that any position here is not going to come easy.
A great battle here for that fifth place. So fifth, fourth, and then third with Hensler up ahead. And that's going to give Hensler way more breathing room than he had before when these guys start battling side by side.
Schiller's getting feisty, though. He looks to the inside. This contact just poked his nose in there, and Spencer closed the door, and suddenly there was contact, and the Allegra machine is around. I don't think there'll be major damage unless he got unlucky. I think Lewis is right there in the picture. Was that the 41 car coming through?
I believe he got around him, yeah, but what a great... Let's take a look at the replay here, just down in the braking zone, Cal.
Yeah, just Spencer opened up his hands a little bit, but then he's going to cut back there, kind of a double apex there. Schiller poked his nose in where it shouldn't belong. Kind of feeling the fact that he turned him around. Just watch the picture. I think there it is. Lewis has got through as well.
Yeah, Lewis back there up into the 5th place now. And it could be the benefactor here up into the top 4 if there's some sort of drive-through penalty for the driving there, because that was just, you know, you saw the gap, you saw the room, you went for it, but unfortunately I don't think that was the place to get it done. Like we said before, just doesn't really know better. You don't do that here.
Yeah, he started to look feisty, but I don't think he was really trying to make a move there. He was just trying to line himself up for a run, coming off a turn 2, and he's now going to get a drive-through penalty for that contact. So that's a bit of a mistake by Schiller there, just putting his nose in a place where it shouldn't have been.
4 minutes to go here in this race, so wherever he comes out and ends up at, and it's you know, the drive-through penalty, it's
25 seconds.
25
I think it's going to
minutes
cost
on the
him.
pit lane. So looking at the gaps on where they are now after that incident, he could in theory drop back to about 9th or 10th overall in the standings right now as he comes down on the pit lane.
It's a big blow for the team that came in at this round of the championship, 3rd in the points, coming off a podium run in race 1 at Coda.
And down on pit lane, Ryan Reed, you're following that Mercedes down through.
Yeah, that's right. It's safe to say the team is not pleased. I'm not sure if they're necessarily upset with the penalty or just the circumstances, running so well. But without a doubt, looking at Nick Short, the team owner, Daniel Morad, everybody just huddling together, trying to wrap their heads around this. Another strong run for CRP. Tossed asunder here after issues, if you go back to Long Beach, and now here again today.
Yeah, they had the pit lane problem earlier with that wheel nut, and it seems to just kind of roll downhill when that happens, Cal.
It does, and this is a team that is really ticking the boxes right now in terms of, you know, consistency in performance. I mean, it was the first year with this car in the group last year, so they had a lot to learn. They now got the notebook to work from. Had a great run going at Long Beach, and then they had some electrical glitch. They believe it was the plug-in and the steering wheel, ultimately, that had come disconnected, and took them a while to find it, and lost valuable points there in the overall championship, and of course the sprint championship as well. But just got to keep digging.
Yeah, the sophomore jinx, so to speak, not for the team, but maybe for this Mercedes AMG car as they're coming down through Oak Tree. There is our leader, Soule, 18-second lead over Miguel Molina in that Ferrari, leading in our Pro-Am category. You got to go back to Brian Dial, 6th overall in that True Speed Autosport Audi R8, with his teammate Parker Chase to be 2nd. And then Pro-Am Alessandro Brisson, a great recovery for that Dream Racing team, with Yuki Hirata had an incident in the qualifying session, or sorry, the test day on Thursday in that Lamborghini. And that Dream Racing team took the whole rest of the day getting that car rebuilt.
Yeah, it's great to rebound, and that's what teams have to do. It's a long weekend, and you can't afford to let anything get you down too much. But this is a team that's had a tough start to the year, and what a result this would be if Soule could bring it home. Yeah,
it's going to be such a bittersweet for this K-Pax Bentley team with the incident you saw at the beginning of the race with Alvaro Parent, but the the victor here, hopefully, is he got to work his way around. Still about a lap and a half. He'll get the white flag next time by. Hasn't put a wheel wrong so far. Either his teammate Rodrigo Bautista, who started this car, either. So just a superb drive for both of those drivers here today.
Ironically, it was Soule who had the crash in testing here prior to Long Beach, which caused the team to really get in a mad thrash to get the car ready for Long Beach. And then they had their parts man bring all the parts down from their Northern California base to Long Beach, and then just after he returned, they said, get back in the truck. We've had another one in practice, so it's been another ending cycle of damage to these Bentleys in the early start to the year.
Well, it's a good way to reward the crew with a victory, as well as fastest race lap, 1:43.084 right now. Not sure if anybody's going to be able to eclipse that here at the end. Dore Japanik, just seeing that car's been stuck down on pit lane in the number 71 Audi. But looking back at Tyler Hardwick, still leading in our GT Cup category. Martin Fuentes still leading in our GT Am category. This is your GT Pro-Am leader, but also overall leader. We'll see how that plays out with the pace that Rodrigo Bautista has shown. They do see the different battles that goes on, and speeds and times and where you finish on, whether you stay a pro or stay an Am.
Good little battle here for 4th position. Corey Lewis trying to hang on to it with the Lodi machine, number 41, but Spencer Pampali trying to rebound. He'll be fired up after that little bump and run by Schiller just a couple of laps ago.
Spencer has the whole family here. I saw him in the pits a little bit earlier, actually trying to scrounge up tickets together to get everybody in. So great to have Spencer's whole family here today. And I got to give a good shout out to him there. During that spin, I didn't get a chance to mention it, but he immediately got back into gear. So he was really knowing that it was a slower spin, but way to get that car recovered and back underway quickly. Pull it, both paddles, put it in neutral, pop it in first, and able to go and not get stuck there.
And he is hammered down right now, really pushing hard. Ran with Corey Lewis in GT3 competition before, so they're ex-teammates. So looking smooth.
Yeah, coming down that roller coaster section, just a few more corners down the hill. A lot of great fans here today. The campsites are full here at Virginia International Raceway, as Maxime Soulet going to bring that K-Pax Racing Bentley Continental onto the front stretch. Flashing lights with that K-Pax crew. There'll be celebrations, but there'll be the defeat as well with that K-Pax Racing team. But victory for Maxime Soulet and Rodrigo Bautista. See, it's another 20 seconds back to second place here when we got Martin Fuentes in that Hublot Alpha Prime Ferrari. He's our GT Am leader, and it will be Tony Vilander and Miguel Molina winning our Pro category, second place overall. But Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarello doing a great job. Looking for their third win in a row in the Sprint X category. Swept the weekend at Circuit of the Americas.
Fifth win of the year for Martin. One of the best characters we have in the paddock. He's such a cool guy. Lives life to the maximum. He loves driving Ferraris.
Took a year off after he clinched the GTA Driver Championship in 2016. Went and ran Ferrari Challenge last season. Teams up here with Cesar Baccarello as the car owner, and basically helped coaching him, bringing him up here into Pirelli World Challenge competition. And we talk about Martin's fifth win, but this is also Cesar's third win in a row for himself, as well as Martin back and forth down the straightaway. Going to be a huge smile under his helmet getting that win.
Great performance. Just executed perfectly. Strong lap time, so we'll try and repeat here tomorrow.
And Tyler Hardwick going to get our GT Cup race win as well. And Wolf Hensler and Corey Lewis able to hold off Spencer Pompelli there at the end for that fourth place. Great recovery for that Loki Porsche from GMG Racing.
It was tight at the end between the two former teammates. 0.3 of a second between Corey Lewis and Spencer Pompelli.
Now you look at teammates too, you know, you got and then you got the Mercedes, who had that drive-through penalty of Schiller, which Morad, all the different teams and drivers that have all teamed together. Ryan Diel right there as well, finishing second in our Pro-Am category with Parker Chase, the number 19 Audi R8, and third in our Pro-Am category, Yuki Hirata, Alessandro Brisson. Of course, Yuki winning the sprint competition in the Long Beach race.
Yeah, Yuki's just been amazing this year, making that transition up to a full GT3 machine from the Super Trofeo Lamborghini last year. Has just really been putting in some great performances.
There is Tony Vilander and Miguel Molina, that 61R Ferry Motorsports team. And I got to think, looking at the times, they're all based on pit stops. 75.7 second pit stop, and that earns them that VP Racing Fuel Hard Charger of the Race Award, picking up 4 positions in the race cal.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, we also had that mega one by the Allegra crew, 75.02, which I think is cutting it too close. I'm not sure if anyone's that clever to get at that type, but even so, they'll take it.
The better part of luck on that pit stop there, as you see the Ferrari coming down. So the overall podium, it will be, once again, Soulet, Molina, and Hensler in the second half. But in the GT Pro-Am, it's Soulet. Second place going to Ryan Dial. Third place to Alessandro Brisson. I gotta like his helmet too. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, this will be a big sigh of relief for that whole group to finally get the monkey off their back and grab their first victory of the season. Having made the transition from the McLaren brand over to Bentley for this 2018 racing season.
Yeah, the German there with the James Hunt helmet, it looks like, so pretty neat to see. Like I said, very bittersweet moment here for that K-Pax Racing team. The celebration, the team wants to help, but they know they got to get back there and get to work on Alvaro Perrin's car as well. Well, Ryan Marine, you're down there on pit lane with our race winners.
Thanks very much, guys. Congratulations, Rodrigo Bautista, Maxime Soulet. Victory here today at VIR. Rodrigo, we'll start with you. Your first win in GT here at Pirelli World Challenge. How special is this?
For sure, it's really special to be here and fight with the pro guys. So, but the team did a great job. The car is perfect, so I just did my job.
And for you, Maxime, you come here. I know you guys did some testing, so how prepared did you feel coming into the weekend? Did you think you were being able to challenge for a win?
We knew the car was quick, you know. K-Pax Racing did an amazing job in the testing, and to be honest, we didn't change anything on the car since testing. The engineer was a bit sad about it because he looked like a dog that you hit, you know, because, I can't change the car, but the car was perfect, you know, and Rodrigo did an amazing job. I just had to bring it home, that's all.
And you guys set the fastest race lap as well. How important do you expect starting up front to be tomorrow in race 2?
I didn't really understand the radio communication about that, so I heard you are P2, so I kept pushing, and then I didn't hear anything anymore, so well, I don't know. And then they told me that we were P1, so good. I mean, I think it's important because you're really the one that takes the pace at the start, so I think it's quite important.
Congratulations, guys. Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, we saw how important that was, Cal, with Murad getting the lead there on that first lap. But congratulations to your race winners today in that Bentley Continental. Maxime Soulet, Rodrigo Bautista, as all the different drivers and teams in different classes getting out of their cars and get ready for race number 2 tomorrow for the fastest race laps. So looking through the results there, Cal, any other noticeables for you that kind of stand out?
Well, I think certainly Schiller will be disappointed in the CRP group with their finish 8th overall, 5th in class, but they can sit back and know they're going to be on the front row. It's not the pole position with Soulet laid down the fast lap for that, but they'll be outside him. So I think Schiller showed the pace today. I think Morad will be a great finishing driver. Maybe they can come back and rebound for a win here tomorrow for Mercedes.
Yeah, so we talked about, once again, the Bentley, the Pro-Am category. They're not only winning in the Pro-Am category, but leading overall. Miguel Molina, Tony Vilander in 2nd place, and able to hold on for 3rd was that team, Scott Hargrove and Wolf Hensler in that Porsche in the overall category. Martin Fuentes, Cesar Baccarella, 1st place in our GT Am category, and then Tyler Hardwick able to get the win in our GT Cup class in GT Cup. Looking at the Pro-Am category, it was Maxime Soulet, Rodrigo Bautista getting the win. Parker Chase, Ryan Dial in 2nd place in their Audi, and 3rd going to Yuki Hirata, Alessandro Brisson in that Dream Racing Lamborghini Huracan. So looking at our Am category, once again, Cesar Baccarella getting the win in his Ferrari with teammates with Martin Fuentes. David Askew able to salvage a 2nd place finish in his DXDT Racing Security National Mortgage Mercedes-Benz, and Tyler Hardwick getting the GT Cup race winner with that Lamborghini. Well, Cal, you see what happened here. Sprint X throw wrenches in, penalties, wheel nuts being bad, big, huge incidents. Great to see that Alvaro Print walked away from that incident. A lot of teams be doing a lot of work here overnight.
Yeah, it's going to be really key because they need to get that car back out there somehow, some way. But the fact of the matter are they do not have a lot of spares on that K-Pax truck, so it may be game over. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully there'll be good news to come from that camp overnight.
Well, of course, Miguel Molina, Tony Vilander getting our Pro win, even though they were 2nd overall. I think Ryan Marines caught up with that Ferrari team.
Sure did. Might have been 2nd overall, but it's still a class win for you guys. And what a dynamic duo you've turned into. How much do you attribute this to getting to work together at COTA and having some chemistry coming into this weekend?
Yeah, I would say this was a pro team effort, meaning that qualifying lacked the pace. In the 2nd sector, which is most of full throttle, I just lose 3/10. We got a little POP thing coming to here. We lost some power. I was in the middle of action in the beginning of the race, and then I saw the cars in front started to struggle with the tires and grip, so I informed my team, and they said now is the time. Now we need to push really hard, and we sort of made an overcut instead of undercut. We made an overcut, and we pitted at the last minute, and it worked out. And then Miguel, he didn't have a safe second place, and he pushed real hard, and excellent starting position also for tomorrow. If I checked correctly, it's P3 for tomorrow. So great thing there.
Congratulations to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Miguel Molina just has done a superb drive coming into that team.
Yeah, you can tell he's ecstatic.
Yeah, ecstatic. Yeah, there you go.
His words.
Saw the smile as he walked away, right? Well, here's that great race for our Sprint X, round number 3 here at the Grand Prix of Virginia, presented by Audi Sport, part of the Pirelli World Challenge competition here this weekend. I want to congratulate all of our podium finishers and competitors for our GT Sprint X rounds. As Calvin, it's going to be a late night for some of these teams. Some of these teams will be celebrating into the late night. Some of these teams will be working into the late night.
Not celebrating too much. Tomorrow comes around in a hurry, so everyone needs to be on their A game again tomorrow. But certainly these doubleheader weekends are great in terms of, you know, moving into tomorrow with a positive spirit and hoping for a rebound for some of the teams that didn't have a great day.
Well, congratulations, overall winners once again, Rodrigo Bautista. But in our Pro-Am category, and Cal, I got to think, you know, I think the Pirelli World Challenge officials might be looking at that a little bit.
Yeah, well, there was a rule in place that if you had an overall podium, you got reclassified. I'm not sure if that's still the situation with the current official gradings for the drivers, so we'll try and get clarification on that. You'd hate to see Rodrigo Bautista, who leads the Pro-Am category, suddenly get recategorized to a Pro, but certainly at the end of this year, I think that'll be the case. I'm not sure exactly what the regulation is in place right now. I tried to get clarification on that prior to getting to the booth, but couldn't get that done in time, so we will let you know.
Well, that's going to conclude our coverage here for the Sprint X competition.